The goal for this segment is to convey the importance of the identification, collection, and packaging of physical evidence as it relates to forensic testing at the crime laboratory. The proper collection and analysis of all crime evidence is critical when investigating the crime of sexual assault. Now, the main function of the forensic scientist in the biology section of the crime lab is to locate and identify body fluid stains and obtain a DNA profile from that stain by way of DNA testing. Swabs collected from the victim during the patient exam and evidence collected from the scene are examined at the crime lab for purposes of identifying bodily fluids such as seminal fluid, saliva, and blood. Now, once those fluids are identified, the lab performs DNA analysis to find out who the fluid belongs to. When a person comes in contact with an item or another person, some amount of their DNA will transfer. The amount of DNA left behind is highly variable and depends on the type of contact and the duration of contact. For instance, brief handling versus continuous rubbing. It also depends on if the person sheds a lot of skin cells, if they are sweaty, or have dry hands. In any case, DNA technology used at the Utah Department of Public Safety Crime Lab can detect very small amounts of DNA. If there's enough DNA, a profile can be developed. This profile will be compared to the victim's and the suspect's DNA profile. To obtain these DNA profiles, standards are obtained from the victim and suspect by way of buccal or buccal cheek swabs. The nurse collects from these samples from the victim at the time of exam. An investigator or responder can collect from a suspect at the time of questioning. If the victim has had consensual sex within the time frame of the assault, buccal standards should be collected from the consensual sex partner. These are also called elimination standards. If you have the opportunity to request or collect standards from individuals who may be associated with the case, you are encouraged to do so as soon as possible. The forensic nurse examiner collects forensic evidence directly from the patient through swabbing, referred to as intimate swabs. They are also have the opportunity to collect undergarments, such as underwear and bra that would contain transferred bodily fluids or skin cells. The first responder has the opportunity to gather additional evidence from the crime scene. You are encouraged to collect evidence where you believe may link the suspect to the victim or either of them to the crime scene. You have this limited opportunity to document and collect the best and most probative evidence. And if in doubt, it is better to overcollect. You may not have an opportunity to go back. Now, the State Crime Lab has a crime scene response team which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The phone number will be listed at the end of this training in the resource section. If any questions come up during the investigation, including your crime scene search, the crime scene response team can be reached as a resource for additional information or assistance. After contact, a suspect's DNA can be present on a victim several hours or days after an assault, even after a victim is bathed, showered, or changed clothes. Current technology allows the analyst to detect these very small amounts of DNA. This should give you an idea of the possibilities of evidence you could collect, such as touched items, an object, for instance, or a clothing item that might have been worn by either the suspect or the victim. While you're at the scene, you may come in contact with potential biohazards, and personal protective equipment is a must. Protect yourself first and foremost, then also protect your evidence from contamination. It is very important to collect items without adding your own DNA to the evidence. Always wear gloves and a face mask if possible when collecting. No chewing gum, and don't speak directly over the evidence. Everyone, including the crime lab staff, takes these very precautions in order to minimize the occurrence of contamination. The more smoothly each step in this process goes, the fewer issues come up during trial.